There is a betrayal so profound, so gut-wrenching, that it doesn't just leave a scar. It dismantles your very foundation. It doesn't come from an enemy, a stranger, or a rival. No, it comes from the ones you trusted most. The people who were supposed to protect you, guide you, stand beside you when the world turned dark. But instead they became the darkness. This is the kind of betrayal that rewires your soul. It doesn't just hurt, it changes you. You look in the mirror and suddenly you don't recognize the person staring back, because you're no longer the same. And that is where the battle begins. Betrayal by family is not just an event. It is a wound that cuts into the very core of who you are. It is not a superficial scratch that time will easily erase. It is a fracture, a deep and personal destruction of trust, safety, and identity. When the people who were supposed to protect you, your parents, siblings, or close relatives, turn against you, it doesn't just hurt in the way that ordinary betrayal does. It rewires your entire understanding of relationships, security, and even your sense of self. Family is supposed to be the foundation of your world. As children, we look up to our parents, trusting them to be our first protectors. We believe our siblings will always stand by our side, that our relatives will offer support in difficult times. But when that trust is broken, it does more than just create disappointment. It destroys something fundamental within us. It shatters the illusion that there are people in the world who will never turn their backs on us. And once that illusion is gone, it is almost impossible to rebuild. This kind of betrayal does not just cause emotional pain, it creates an identity crisis. You start questioning everything you once believed. Were all the moments of kindness and love genuine, or were they just a facade? If the people who were meant to love you unconditionally have turned against you, what does that say about you? Are you unworthy of love? Did you deserve this? These questions creep into your mind like poison, eroding your confidence, your self-worth, and even your ability to trust others in the future. What makes betrayal by family so much more destructive than betrayal by a friend or stranger is that it is not just about broken trust, it is about broken belonging. Humans are wired for connection, and family is supposed to be the first and strongest connection we experience. It is where we learn love, safety, and emotional resilience. But when the very people who were supposed to provide that security are the ones who inflict the deepest wounds, it leaves a void that nothing else can easily fill. This pain is compounded by the fact that family betrayal often comes with gaslighting and manipulation. Those who betray you will rarely admit their fault. Instead, they will justify their actions, twist the truth, or even make you feel like you are the problem. This psychological warfare is what makes the wound even deeper. It's not just the act of betrayal that hurts. It's the aftermath of doubt, confusion, and isolation. And yet, despite the depth of this wound, you are left with a choice. You can let it define you, allowing it to break your spirit and leave you bitter. Or you can recognize it for what it is, a painful but revealing moment that exposes the truth about the people around you. The wound may never fully disappear, but in acknowledging it, you reclaim your own power. Because the deepest wounds do not just destroy, they also reveal strength you never knew you had. Trust is the invisible thread that holds relationships together, and when it is broken, the entire structure collapses. It is not just about being let down, it is about the destruction of certainty, security, and belief in others. When trust is betrayed, especially by family, it is not just a loss, it is an unraveling of everything you once relied on, the world you knew, the relationships you valued, and the stability you believed in are all suddenly thrown into chaos. Betrayal is not just about the act itself, it is about what comes after. The realization that the person you once depended on is not who you thought they were. The betrayal forces you to reevaluate every interaction, every word, and every moment that came before it. You begin to wonder if the love, support, and connection were ever real. Did they mean what they said? Were they ever truly on your side? The questions spiral endlessly, and with each one, another piece of your past feels tainted. What makes broken trust so devastating is that it does not just affect the relationship in question, it affects your ability to trust at all. You do not simply lose faith in one person, you start to question the reliability of everyone around you. If the people who were supposed to love and protect you could turn against you, then what stops anyone else from doing the same? This fear settles deep in your mind, influencing how you form relationships in the future. You hesitate to open up, to be vulnerable, to believe in the good intentions of others. Because once trust is broken, every interaction becomes a potential threat. The pain of betrayal is not just emotional, it is psychological. It changes the way your brain processes relationships. Instead of seeing connection as a source of comfort, you begin to see it as a risk. You develop defenses, build walls, and convince yourself that keeping people at a distance is the only way to avoid being hurt again. But in doing so, you also isolate yourself, cutting off the possibility of genuine love and loyalty. This is the cruel irony of broken trust. The very thing you need to heal, connection, becomes the thing you fear the most. And then there is the anger, the deep consuming rage that comes with realizing you were deceived. The feeling of being made a fool, of giving your heart to people who did not value it. That anger can eat away at you, turning into resentment, bitterness, and even self-hatred. You replay the betrayal over and over in your mind, searching for clues, for signs you might have missed. You blame yourself for not seeing it coming, for trusting too much, for believing in people who did not deserve it. But the truth is, trust is not the weakness. The betrayal is. Trust is what allows relationships to exist, to flourish, to bring meaning to life. And when it is shattered, it leaves behind not just pain, but a world forever changed. Betrayal is not just an action, it is a psychological event that alters the way we see ourselves and the world around us. It is one of the most painful human experiences because it disrupts the foundation of trust, safety, and connection. When betrayal comes from family, the impact is even more profound. It is not just a loss of trust, it is a direct attack on the fundamental human need for belonging. The mind is left struggling to process the contradiction. How can the people who were supposed to care for you also be the ones who cause you the most harm? At the core of betrayal is a violation of expectations. People expect family members to be loyal, to protect, to stand by them in difficult times. When that expectation is broken, the mind experiences cognitive dissonance, a psychological conflict between what was believed and what is now reality. This internal struggle can lead to emotional turmoil, anxiety, and even depression. The betrayed person begins to question not only their relationships, but also their own judgment. If they misjudged someone so close to them, how can they trust themselves to evaluate others in the future? The psychological effects of betrayal are deeply tied to the way the brain processes emotional pain. Studies have shown that social rejection and betrayal activate the same neural pathways as physical pain. This is why betrayal does not just feel emotionally distressing, it feels like a literal wound. The body reacts with stress responses, racing heart, nausea, difficulty sleeping, because the brain perceives betrayal as a serious threat to survival. In ancient times, being cast out of a social group meant death. That primal fear still lingers in modern human psychology, making the experience of betrayal feel like a life-threatening event. Betrayal also triggers an intense emotional roller coaster. First comes shock and inability to believe what has happened. Then anger, as the mind tries to make sense of the injustice. This can quickly shift into sadness and despair as the full weight of the loss sets in. Some people experience guilt, blaming themselves for trusting the wrong person or not seeing the wrong person. Others become consumed by resentment, unable to let go of the pain inflicted upon them. Each of these emotions serves a psychological function, pushing the betrayed person toward either healing or further destruction. The betrayer, on the other hand, often rewrites reality to justify their actions. This is where psychology plays a crucial role in understanding betrayal. People who betray others frequently engage in self-deception to avoid guilt. They create narratives where they are the victim, where their actions were necessary, or where the betrayed person somehow deserved it. This defense mechanism, known as cognitive distortion, allows them to live with their actions without facing the full weight of their wrongdoing. Betrayal is more than a single act. It is a psychological storm that changes how a person sees themselves, others, and the world. It plants seeds of doubt, reshapes relationships, and forces the mind to rebuild trust from the ground up. Whether it leads to resilience or permanent scars depends on how the betrayed person chooses to confront it. Betrayal forces a decision that no one ever wants to make. Do you forgive the people who hurt you, or do you walk away and leave them behind? It is a question that lingers in the mind long after the initial pain has passed, a battle between the desire to heal and the fear of being hurt again. There is no easy answer. Forgiveness can feel like weakness, as if you are excusing the harm that was done to you. Walking away can feel like defeat, like you are surrendering something that was once precious. But the reality is that neither choice is simple, and both come with their own burdens. Forgiveness is often misunderstood. People assume it means pretending the betrayal never happened, acting as if the pain was never real. But true forgiveness is not about erasing the past. It is about refusing to let the past control you. It is a way of reclaiming your power, of saying, "I will not let what you did define my future." Forgiveness is not about the betrayer, it is about you. It is about freeing yourself from the weight of anger, from the endless cycle of resentment that only poisons your own soul. But forgiveness does not mean reconciliation. It does not mean allowing toxic people back into your life. Some wounds cut too deep and some betrayals are too severe to be repaired. There are people who will never change, who will never take responsibility for the harm they caused. To keep them in your life is to invite more pain, more disappointment, more suffering. Walking away is not an act of cruelty. It is an act of self-preservation. There is a difference between holding on to bitterness and refusing to be hurt again. The hardest part of making this choice is the guilt that often comes with it. Society tells us that we must forgive family, that we must hold on to relationships no matter what. But unconditional forgiveness can be dangerous when it comes at the cost of your own well-being. You are not obligated to keep people in your life just because they share your blood, just because they once meant something to you. You have the right to protect yourself, to choose peace over pain, even if that means walking away. There is no universal rule for when to forgive and when to leave. It is a deeply personal decision, one that requires looking beyond the surface of emotions and asking hard questions. Has the betrayer shown genuine remorse? Have they changed, or are they likely to hurt you again? Can the relationship be rebuilt in a way that is healthy and safe? If the answer to these questions is no, then walking away is not just an option, it is a necessity. At the core of this decision is a simple truth. You deserve peace. Whether that peace comes from forgiveness or from distance, only you can decide. But whichever path you choose, let it be one that brings you strength, not suffering. Resilience is not something inherited or gifted, it is something earned, something shaped through struggle, pain, and adversity. It is built in the fire of hardship, in the moments when everything feels like it is falling apart, when betrayal, loss, and disappointment threaten to break you. No one becomes strong by living an easy life. Strength is forged in suffering, in the chaos of uncertainty, in the depths of despair. The fire that threatens to consume you is the same fire that has the power to transform you, if you let it. Pain has a way of exposing the truth. It strips away illusions, forcing you to see yourself and the world for what they truly are. When you experience betrayal, heartbreak, or failure, you are given a choice. Let it destroy you, or let it shape you into something stronger. The first instinct is often to resist, to run from the pain, to numb it, to deny it. But the path to resilience does not lie in avoidance. It lies in facing the fire head on, in allowing yourself to endure the suffering and come out the other side changed. The most powerful people are not the ones who have never been hurt. They are the ones who have suffered and survived. They are the ones who have walked through the darkness and refused to let it consume them. Resilience is not about pretending that pain does not exist or acting as if betrayal did not wound you. It is about acknowledging the pain, understanding it, and using it as fuel to build something greater within yourself. Every hardship, every moment of despair, every betrayal is a test, an opportunity to strengthen the foundation of who you are. At first, the weight of suffering feels unbearable. The anger, the sadness, the overwhelming sense of loss can make it seem like there is no way forward. But if you endure, if you keep moving even when it feels impossible, you begin to realize something profound. You are still here. No matter how much pain has been inflicted upon you, no matter how deep the betrayal, you are still standing. That realization is the beginning of resilience. It is the understanding that no matter what happens, you have the capacity to survive, to rebuild, to rise again. Resilience does not mean that you will never feel pain again. It does not mean that you become immune to betrayal or disappointment. What it does mean is that pain will no longer have the power to define you. It means that when the fire comes again, and it will, you will not fear it in the same way. You will recognize it as something temporary, something that you have already faced before and survived. Each time you endure, you become stronger, more unshakable, more certain of your own power. No one seeks the fire, but those who survive it are never the same. They are transformed, hardened, and refined. They are no longer victims of their pain. They are warriors forged by it. Family is often defined as the people connected to you by blood, the ones you are born into and expected to stand by no matter what. It is a concept deeply ingrained in society, reinforced by culture, tradition, and expectation. But what happens when that very family turns against you? When they betray your trust, abandon you in your time of need, or become the source of your deepest pain? In those moments, you are forced to confront a difficult truth. Family is not just about blood. It is about the people who choose you, who support you, who stand by you when it matters most. Betrayal by family is one of the most devastating experiences a person can go through. It shakes the foundation of your identity, making you question everything you once believed. You were taught that family is forever, that no matter what happens, they will always be there. But when that illusion shatters, you realize that family is not defined by genetics. It is defined by love, respect, and loyalty. And some of the people you share DNA with may not deserve a place in your life. And that is a painful but necessary truth to accept. There is guilt in walking away from toxic family members. Society tells you that cutting ties with family is selfish, that you should always forgive, always try to fix broken relationships. But real family does not manipulate, control, or hurt you without remorse. Real family does not demand your loyalty while offering none in return. Choosing to step away from people who harm you is not an act of betrayal. It is an act of self-preservation. In the absence of the family you were born into, you have the power to create the family you deserve. It may not look like the traditional idea of family, but it will be real. It will be built on mutual trust, understanding, and care. Sometimes family is a close friend who listens without judgment. Sometimes it is a mentor who guides you when you are lost. It is the people who celebrate your successes and hold you up in your failures, not out of obligation but out of genuine love. But not letting go of the idea that family must always come from blood is not easy. There is grief in that realization, a mourning for the love you should have received but never did. But in that loss there is also freedom. The freedom to choose who belongs in your life, to surround yourself with people who uplift you rather than tear you down. You are not bound to those who mistreat you simply because of a shared last name. You are allowed to define your own sense of belonging. At its core, family is not about who you are born to. It is about who stands beside you. It is about those who see you for who you truly are and love you anyway. It is about connection, loyalty, and the kind of love that does not need to be forced. And sometimes, the greatest act of self-love is choosing to walk away and build a family of your own. In the end, betrayal forces us to confront painful truths, not just about others, but about ourselves. It shatters illusions, tests our strength, and demands that we redefine the very foundations of trust, love, and family. But from that pain comes power. It is in the fire of suffering that resilience is built. In the depths of loss that we discover who we truly are. Whether we choose to forgive or walk away, whether we cling to old ties or forge new bonds, the decision must come from a place of self-respect and wisdom. Family is not just who we are born to, but who we choose to stand beside. Trust, once broken, may never be the same, but we are not defined by our betrayals. We are defined by how we rise from them. In the end, the greatest strength is not in avoiding pain, but in learning to endure, to heal, and to reclaim our lives on our own terms.